Latin music is less of a music genre and more of a catch-all term for the highly rhythmic music that originates from countries that were once part of the Spanish and Portuguese empires, particularly those in Central and South America and in the Caribbean. However, the origins of Latin music is actually a story of the coming together of three strong cultures. European settlers brought their music and instruments with them to these countries, where they also took influence from the music and instrumentation of the indigenous people, such as the Mayas. Latin music also has profound African roots due to the huge displacement of slaves around the 18th century, with their culture persevering in the music even through this torrid time. This is evident particularly within the percussion and drum elements of modern Latin music. There are many styles of Latin music that have different origins, both chronologically and geographically. These styles include tango, samba, mambo, salsa, bossa nova, merengue, and Latin pop, to name just a few. All of these styles have their own stories, characteristics, and developments, but they do share similar DNA that allows us to use Latin music as an umbrella term. The styles are expressive and passionate, and most also have very specific dances by the same names associated with them. Latin music is often recognizable by its percussion. Many ensembles use bongos, congas, claves, shakers and maracas, scrapers, including the güiro, cowbell, and agogos. Some of the melodic instruments that are commonly used in Latin music include the piano, the marimba, double bass. There's a type of panpipes called the antara. There are also lots of special types of guitar within Latin music, such as the tres and the tiple. The rhythms, including the time signatures of Latin music, do vary depending on the style, but one absolutely key rhythm is the clave, which literally translates to key in Spanish. There are different clave rhythms used, but the most common pattern is the son clave. The son clave is the rhythm that's made up of two sides, a 3-side and a 2-side. The 3-part contains this triplet rhythm that sounds like this. And the 2-part falls on these 8th notes like this. These two sides can be interchangeable with either side starting first, but it's probably more common to have a 2-3 son clave rhythm. It's normally played on the wooden stick instruments by the same name. Latin music is very diverse and complex, but to give an example of how you might create a typical Latin piano part, we can turn to the piano montuno style. Essentially, piano montuno breaks up the chords between the first and the rest of the chord and plays them in an alternating rhythmic pattern. This can be played across a typical chord progression, and we'll see how to construct a piano montuno part in a moment. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do in order to just provide us with some context is put a little stomp on the downbeats and a little clink on the upbeats. Now we add in our 2-3 clave part, very simple. Now add in some layers of additional percussion parts that can contain congas, bongos, maracas, cowbell, güiro, and others. Just keep adding until you're happy, but notice that we haven't lost that clave, it's still holding strong with the other percussion working around it. Now for the piano montuno part. Let's stick in the minor scale and extend what we did earlier and apply a 1-5-4-1 chord structure. Now let's add octaves on the first notes, which gives us a bit more of a Latin feel. To make things more interesting and add some movement, we can arpeggiate the first part of each bar. And that's our basic piano montuno. But if you want to spice things up a bit more, try inverting the chords, and if you play second inversions, you can mess around on the bottom note by playing sixths, and you can end up with something that sounds a little bit like this. I'm just going to double that up on the marimba. You could add some rolls or change it up slightly, but I'm happy with more or less just mirroring the piano for this one. Throw in a simple bass that follows the chords. Notice that the rhythm is pretty much a 3/2 songclave with an extra note on the end. Add a tres guitar part plus maybe a lead part such as a solo trumpet.